What if I told you a girl was thrown out of her own home on Christmas morning, not because she did something wrong, but because she simply stopped being useful to the people who raised her, while inside that same house, her family was celebrating, laughing, enjoying warmth, not knowing that the house they were sitting in was no longer legally theirs, it belonged to her, and the truth about it had been hidden for years, waiting for the right moment to destroy everything. That morning didn't feel normal from the beginning. There are some days that don't start with chaos, they start with silence. Heavy silence. The kind that feels like something bad has already happened, even before anything begins. Elina stood in the hallway of the house she had lived in her entire life. She was holding a small bag. That bag wasn't packed with excitement or travel plans. It wasn't packed for a future. It was packed for an ending. A few clothes. A few personal things. That's all she was allowed to take. Around her, the house was decorated for Christmas. Soft lights were hanging across the walls. A Christmas tree stood in the corner with ornaments shining under warm yellow glow. From outside, it looked like a happy home. A perfect family scene. But inside, it was not happiness. It was performance. Her mother stood near the living room entrance. Calm face. Controlled voice. No visible emotion. But there was something dangerous in her calmness. Like she had already made her decision days ago. "You've stayed here long enough," she said. Elina didn't respond immediately. She looked at her mother's face carefully. She had seen that face for years. And every time it looked like this, something inside the house would break. Usually her. Her mother continued. "You don't contribute anything to this family. You never have." Those words didn't feel new. That was the worst part. They felt rehearsed. Like they had been said in different ways for years, and today was just the final version. Her younger sister was sitting on the sofa nearby. Comfortable. Relaxed. She was smiling slightly, scrolling her phone like this was entertainment. Like watching someone get erased from their life was normal. And then there was her father. He stood near the dining table. Not looking at her. Not reacting. Just silent. That silence hurt more than anything else. Because silence from someone who should speak feels like agreement. Elina's fingers tightened around her bag strap. She wanted to say something. Anything. But her throat felt blocked. Not by fear, but by exhaustion. Years of trying. Years of hoping. Years of being ignored had finally turned into this moment. Her mother didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. "Leave," she said simply. One word. But that one word didn't just mean exit. It meant removal. It meant erasure. It meant you never belonged. Elina slowly turned her head toward the house. She looked at the walls. The hallway. The furniture. The space she had cleaned, maintained, lived in, survived in. And now she was being told she didn't belong in any of it. She took a small step forward. No one stopped her. Another step. Still nothing. It felt unreal. Like her brain was waiting for someone to interrupt this moment and say it was a mistake. But no interruption came. Only silence. She reached the door. Her hand touched the handle. Cold metal. Real. Final. Behind her, she heard a chair move slightly. Someone adjusting their seat. Life continuing. That was the moment something inside her broke quietly. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Quietly. She opened the door. Cold air rushed inside immediately. It hit her face like reality itself had decided to welcome her outside. She stepped out. And the door closed behind her. That sound was the loudest thing she had ever heard in her life. For a few seconds, she didn't move. She just stood there on the porch. Frozen. Staring at the glass reflection. Inside the house, she could see them already returning to their routine. Already continuing their Christmas morning as if nothing had happened. As if she had never existed. Her breath became uneven. But no tears came yet. It was like her body hadn't decided how to process it. Then slowly, she stepped off the porch. Each step away from the house felt unnatural. Like she was walking away from her own identity. From her own story. The street outside was quiet. Cold wind moved through the trees. Other houses nearby were decorated. Warm lights. Family sounds. laughter from distant homes. But hers was not that world anymore. She kept walking. No direction. No destination. Just movement. Because stopping would mean collapsing. After a long time, she found herself near an empty street corner. Her hands were numb. Her mind felt heavy. But her body still kept functioning. And then, memory hit her. Her grandfather. The only person who ever looked at her without judgment. He never spoke loudly. He never interfered in fights. But he watched everything. Always watching. Always noticing things others ignored. She remembered one specific day. He had called her into his room. Quietly. Without telling anyone. He placed something in her hands. A wooden box. Old. Heavy. Locked. And he had said something that didn't make sense at the time. Don't open this until life leaves you with no other choice. She had smiled then. Thought it was just emotional words from an old man. But now, she had nothing left. Her hands trembled as she pulled the box from her bag. She sat down on the cold pavement without caring about anything around her. The world felt distant. Muted. Like it was happening somewhere else. She placed the box in her lap. Stared at it. For a long time. Then slowly, she opened it. Inside was a key, a bank card, and a folded note. Her heart started beating differently now. Not fast, not slow, just aware. She unfolded the note. The handwriting was familiar, slightly shaky. Go to Mr. Dale at Greenfield Bank. Everything I built was always meant for you. She read it once, then again, and again. Because her mind refused to accept it. Everything I built. For you. Her grandfather had never been wealthy in appearance. Never showed off anything. Never acted like someone who had secrets. And yet, this note suggested otherwise. She sat there for a long time, holding the paper, while Christmas morning continued around a world that didn't care about her existence. And somewhere deep inside her, a question formed. What did he mean, everything? She didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. The paper stayed in her hands the entire time, as if letting it go would erase the only meaning her life had left. The words kept repeating in her mind again and again. Everything I built was always meant for you. At some point, the sun began to rise again. Another day. Another beginning that didn't feel like a beginning at all. She stood up slowly. Her legs were stiff from sitting on cold ground for too long. Her body ached, but it didn't matter. Pain had become normal. She looked around. People were walking. Cars were moving. Somewhere nearby, someone was laughing. Life was continuing like nothing had happened. But for her, something irreversible had already changed. She didn't go back to the house. Not even once. Something inside her refused to even look at it again. Instead, she kept walking forward, holding the box tightly like it was the only real thing left in the world. The address on the note kept repeating in her mind. Greenfield Bank. It sounded simple. Ordinary. But nothing about her life felt ordinary anymore. Hours passed. She didn't realize how far she had walked until she stopped near a bus station. Her body was exhausted, but her mind wasn't allowing rest. Eventually, she reached a decision without even consciously thinking about it. She got on a bus. Not because she knew where she was going, but because staying still felt worse than moving. The ride was quiet. Outside the window, the world passed by in colors she wasn't fully seeing. Trees, buildings, people, all blurred together. Her reflection in the glass looked unfamiliar. Tired eyes. Pale face. A girl who looked like she had been erased from somewhere she once belonged. After a long journey, the bus stopped near a more modern part of the city. Tall buildings. Clean roads. Glass reflections everywhere. And there it was. Greenfield Bank. Large. Impressive. Cold in its own way. She stood outside for a moment. Her feet didn't want to move forward. Something about the place felt too big for someone like her. Too structured. Too distant. But then she remembered the house. And she remembered the door closing. That memory pushed her forward. She walked inside. The atmosphere changed immediately. Everything was quiet. Controlled. expensive in a way that made her feel invisible. People in suits moved past her without noticing. She stood at the reception desk for a few seconds before someone finally looked up. "Yes?" the receptionist asked. Elina hesitated. Her voice came out softer than she intended. I was told to come here. For Mr. Dale." There was a brief pause. The receptionist's expression changed slightly. Not confusion. Recognition. Like the name meant something important. "What is your name?" "Elina," she said. That was enough. The receptionist picked up the phone immediately, spoke quietly, then nodded. Within minutes, someone came to escort her. She didn't understand why things were happening so fast. But she followed silently. They took her through a hallway that felt longer than it should have been. Every step echoed slightly. Every sound felt amplified. Eventually, they stopped in front of a door. The man escorting her knocked once, then opened it. "Sir, she is here." Elina stepped inside. The room was large. Private. A long table in the center. Files neatly arranged. A calm atmosphere that felt heavier than noise. A man stood near the window. Middle-aged. Formal suit. Hands behind his back. Looking outside as if he had been waiting for this exact moment. He turned slowly. And looked at her. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Then he said something unexpected. "You look like him." Elina frowned slightly. "Like who?" He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked toward the table and gestured for her to sit. "Please, sit down first." Her heartbeat increased slightly. But she sat today. He took a thick file and placed it in front of her. The sound alone felt serious. Then he finally spoke. "Your grandfather spoke about you many times." Elina froze slightly. "You knew him?" A faint nod. "Yes." Silence followed. Then he opened the file. The first page had legal documents. Property records. Names. Dates. Everything looked official in a way that felt overwhelming. He turned the page slowly. And then he said it. "The reason you are here is because of this." He slid the document toward her. Elina leaned forward slightly. Her eyes scanned the page. And then she saw it. Her house address. Her breath slowed. For a moment, she didn't understand what she was looking at. Then she read it again. And again. This is wrong," she whispered. "That's my parents' house." Mr. Dale didn't react immediately. He stayed calm. Controlled. "Not legally," he said. That line didn't register at first. Elina looked up. "What does that mean?" He folded his hands. "Your grandfather transferred ownership of the property years ago." Silence. "To a legal trust." Elina blinked. "A trust?" He nodded. "And under that structure, the sole beneficiary is you." Her brain stopped processing for a second. The words didn't connect properly. She laughed nervously, shaking her head. "No, that's not possible. My parents, they live there." Mr. Dale continued calmly. "They were allowed to live there under informal arrangement. But ownership has never been theirs." Elina stared at him. Her hands slowly moved toward the document again, as if touching it would change its meaning. But it didn't. It was real. He turned another page. Bank accounts. Financial records. Investments. Numbers she couldn't fully understand at first. Then she did. Her breathing became uneven. This is mine," she asked softly. He nodded once. "Yes." She sat back slowly in her chair. The room suddenly felt too quiet. Too still. Like reality itself had paused to let her understand what was happening. But then came the part that broke the illusion completely. "There is something else," Mr. Dale said. Elina looked up again. He paused for a second before continuing. "After your grandfather passed away, your mother attempted multiple legal claims over the estate." Elina's expression tightened slightly. "She tried to take it?" "Yes." He nodded again. "Multiple times." Elina stayed silent. "And every single time," he continued, "the claims were rejected." She frowned. "Why?" Mr. Dale looked directly at her. Because she had no legal standing. That sentence hung in the air. Heavy. Final. Then he added. Everything was structured so that it could never be transferred or contested by anyone else. Elina felt something shift inside her chest. Not happiness. Not relief. Something closer to disbelief. Like her entire understanding of her life was being rewritten in real time. She looked down at the documents again. The house address. Her name. Her signature in places she didn't even remember existing. And slowly, it started to sink in. Everything she had been thrown out of was never theirs to begin with. The silence in the room stretched longer than before. Mr. Dale didn't rush her. He just waited. Because some truths don't need explanation. Only time. Elina finally spoke again, barely above a whisper. So, they don't know? Mr. Dale shook his head slightly. No. Another pause. Then he added something that changed the tone completely. But they will. For a long moment after those words, Elina didn't move. They will. Those two words kept repeating in her mind like an echo she couldn't silence. She looked down at the documents again, but her eyes weren't really reading them anymore. It felt like her brain had reached a point where it refused to absorb more information. Everything beyond this moment felt unreal. The house she was thrown out of was legally hers. The people who raised her were living in something that was never theirs. And she had been outside in the cold like a stranger. Mr. Dale watched her quietly. He didn't rush her reaction. He had probably seen many reactions like this before. But for Elina, it wasn't just shock. It was something deeper. A slow realization that her entire life had been built on something she never understood. After a while, she finally spoke. Why would he do this, without telling anyone? Her voice was calm, but empty. Mr. Dale leaned back slightly. Because he did tell someone, he said. Elina looked up. Him. He continued. Your grandfather knew exactly what would happen after him. He observed your family for years. He understood the dynamics. And he understood something else too. Elina stayed silent. He understood that if they knew in advance, they would never allow you to survive in that environment peacefully. Those words hit differently. Silence. He protected you in the only way he could, Mr. Dale said. By hiding it until the right moment. Elina slowly looked down again. For the first time since she was thrown out, something inside her shifted. Not anger. Not revenge. Awareness. And beneath it, something sharper beginning to form. Control. She closed the file slowly. Then asked one question. Where is the house now, legally? Mr. Dale replied without hesitation. Still occupied. But fully under your ownership. A pause. And you can decide what happens next. That sentence stayed in the air longer than anything else. You mean, Elina said slowly, I can go back? He nodded. Yes. For a few seconds, she said nothing. Then she stood up. Not suddenly. Not emotionally. Slowly. Like something inside her had finally aligned. I want to see it, she said. The drive back felt different from the way she had left. The same roads. Same city. But she was not the same person anymore. She wasn't the girl holding a small bag in freezing air anymore. She was someone carrying truth. And truth changes how you walk. When the car stopped near the familiar street, her heart didn't race like before. It was steady now. Controlled. Almost detached. The house appeared in front of her. Same lights. Same windows. Same Christmas decorations still hanging faintly. Life inside hadn't paused. It had continued without her. She stepped out of the car slowly. No rush. No hesitation. Just movement. Each step toward the gate felt different this time. Not like someone approaching a place she lost, but someone returning to something she was always connected to. She stopped outside the gate. For a moment, she just looked at it. The same gate. The same entrance. The same place where she was told to leave. Inside, faint sounds of laughter could still be heard. Plates clinking. Conversation. Normal life. She stayed there for a few seconds. Then she pressed the bell. Inside the house, everything was normal. Her mother was speaking casually in the kitchen. Her sister was on the sofa. Her father sitting at the table. Then the doorbell rang. Once. Everyone paused slightly. Her mother frowned. Who is it at this time? Her sister didn't care. Her father didn't react. The maid opened the door. And everything stopped. Because standing outside was Elina. But not the same Elina they remembered. There was no fear in her eyes. No hesitation. No begging. Just stillness. For a moment, no one inside the house spoke. The maid stepped back slightly, confused. Elina walked in. Slowly. Calmly. Every step echoed in the hallway. Her presence felt different now. Not loud. Not aggressive. But undeniable. Her mother appeared in the hallway. The moment she saw her, her face changed. Confusion first. Then irritation. Then disbelief. "What are you doing here?" she asked sharply. Elina didn't respond immediately. She just looked at her. For the first time, not as a daughter, but as someone observing the truth. Her sister came behind, rolling her eyes. "Didn't you get the message? Leave." Her father stood near the dining area. Still silent. Always silent. Elina finally spoke. But her voice was different. Calm. Controlled. "I came back," she said softly. Her mother scoffed. "This is not your home anymore. You were told." Elina interrupted her. "No. One word. Simple. Final." That tone made her mother pause slightly. Something felt off. Elina slowly reached into her bag and placed a file on the table. The sound of it hitting would echoed through the room. Everyone looked at it. No one opened it yet. Silence. Then Elina said something that changed everything. "This house," she said slowly, "belongs to me." A pause. Her mother laughed immediately. A sharp, dismissive laugh. "Are you out of your mind?" Her sister laughed too. Her father still didn't speak. Elina didn't react. She just watched them. And then she added one more line. "Legally." That word changed the air in the room. The laughter didn't stop immediately, but it slowed. Her mother's expression shifted slightly. "What nonsense is this?" Elina didn't argue. She just pointed at the file. "Open it." No one moved at first. Then slowly, her mother walked forward and picked it up. As she opened it, the room started to feel quieter. Page after page. Names. Signatures. Legal documentation. Her expression slowly changed. Confusion fading. Confidence breaking. Her hands tightened slightly on the paper. "No," she whispered under her breath. Her sister leaned closer. "What is it?" Her mother didn't answer immediately. Her eyes kept scanning. Then she said it quietly. "This can't be real." Elina stood still, watching. For the first time, she didn't feel small. She didn't feel invisible. She didn't feel unwanted. She felt something else. Stillness. Power without noise. Her father finally looked at the document. And for the first time in the entire story, he spoke. But not loudly. Just one word. "Impossible." Elina looked at him. And said calmly, "It's not." Silence fell over the entire house. The same house that had thrown her out was now holding a truth it could not escape. And Elina wasn't leaving this time. The silence in the house wasn't normal anymore. It was heavy, thick, like the walls themselves had started listening. Elina stood in the center of the living room, calm, unmoving, while the file lay open on the table like a verdict that couldn't be ignored. Her mother was the first to break. "This is fake," she said sharply, but her voice wasn't as strong as before. "You did something. You manipulated this." Elina didn't react. Her silence was louder than their accusations. Her sister stepped forward next, eyes narrowed. "You think you can just come back here and claim things? After everything?" Elina looked at her slowly. Not with anger. Not with hatred. With clarity. "I didn't come back to claim anything emotionally," she said quietly. "I came back because I already own it." That sentence landed differently this time. Because now, they had seen the documents. Doubt had entered the room. Her father finally stood up fully. For the first time, he looked directly at Elina. Not as someone avoiding responsibility, but as someone forced to face reality. "Where did this come from?" he asked slowly. Elina didn't hesitate. "From someone who actually saw me." That answer hit harder than any argument. Her mother turned immediately. "Your grandfather didn't have the authority." "He did," Elina interrupted calmly. No raised voice. No emotion. Just truth. "He had more authority than all of you combined." The room tightened again. Her mother's breathing changed slightly. Her sister stopped smirking. Even the air felt different. Because the tone of the conversation had shifted. This was no longer denial. It was confrontation with reality. Her father walked closer to the table and looked at the file again. This time, slower. More careful. Like he was searching for a mistake. But there was none. Every page confirmed the same thing. Ownership. Trust structure. Legal transfer. Irrevocable documentation. He stepped back slightly. For a moment, he looked lost. "This doesn't make sense," he said quietly. Elina looked at him. "It never made sense to you," she replied. "Because you never thought I mattered enough to question anything." That sentence didn't come with anger. It came with years of silence finally speaking. Her mother's face tightened. "Enough," she snapped. "Even if this is real, you don't just walk in here and take over everything." That was the first emotional crack. Elina slowly turned toward her. "I'm not taking anything," she said. "I'm simply standing where I've always been legally placed." A pause. "You just never saw it." Silence again. But this time, uncomfortable silence. Her sister suddenly stepped forward. "This is still our home," she said loudly. "We lived here. We built our life here." Elina looked at her. And for the first time, there was something sharper in her expression. Not cruelty. Not revenge. But truth without softness. "You lived here," she said. "Yes." A pause. "But you didn't own it." That sentence made her sister stop mid-step. Because it separated emotion from reality. Her mother suddenly walked toward Elina, anger rising again. "You think some papers change everything? You think this makes you better than us?" Elina didn't move back. She stood still. And answered softly. "No." Another pause. "It just shows what was always true." That hit differently. Because it wasn't an attack. It was a correction. Her father finally spoke again. "Why now?" he asked. Elina looked at him for a long moment. The question wasn't legal anymore. It was emotional. And for a brief second, something inside her softened. Not forgiveness. But memory. She remembered years of silence. Years of being ignored. Years of being treated like she didn't exist in the same space. Then she answered. "Because now I was finally forced to leave the place I was never truly accepted in." Her voice stayed calm. But the meaning behind it wasn't. Silence again. Longer this time. No one had a reply. Because there was no argument left. Only truth sitting in the middle of the room. Her mother looked around the house like she was trying to find something to hold on to. "This can't just end like this," she said quietly now. "Less anger. More fear. This is our life." Elina looked at her. And her voice softened slightly too. "It was your life," she said. A pause. "But it was never your property." That distinction broke something in the room. Because suddenly, they weren't losing a house. They were losing an illusion they had lived inside for years. Her sister sat down slowly on the sofa, no longer speaking. Her confidence was gone. Her father remained standing, but silent again. Not out of control now, but out of realization. And Elina didn't smile. She didn't celebrate. She didn't raise her voice. She just stood there. Present. Aware. Finally seen. After a long silence, her mother spoke again, but her tone had changed. "What do you want?" she asked quietly. That question changed everything again. Because now it wasn't denial. It was acceptance of power shifting. Elina looked at her. And for a moment, she didn't answer immediately. Because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It never had been. It was about something deeper. Recognition. After a pause, she finally said, "I don't want what you think I want." Another pause. "I just wanted you to know the truth." Silence. "And now you do." Those words stayed in the air longer than anything else in the entire story. Her mother didn't respond. Because there was nothing left to say. Slowly, Elina closed the file. The sound of it shutting felt final. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just complete. She turned slightly toward the door. For a second, it looked like she was leaving again. But she stopped. And without turning back fully, she said one last thing. "This house doesn't change." A pause. "But your understanding of it just did." And then she walked out. No one stopped her. Not because they couldn't, but because they finally understood they shouldn't. Outside, the air felt the same as before. Cold. Still. But Elina wasn't the same person who had stood there days ago. Back then, she had been thrown out. Now, she had walked out. On her own terms. The house behind her still had lights on. Still had people inside. Still had life continuing. But something fundamental had shifted. It was no longer a place that defined her existence. It was now just a place that existed under her name. And for the first time in her life, Elina wasn't being erased. She was being acknowledged. Not with love. Not with apology. But with truth. And sometimes, that is the only closure the truth gives.